Hello everybody and welcome back to a tutorial regarding the Durty Cloth Tool. This is kind of the advanced tutorial, so we're going to be diving deep into its features, what you're able to do with it, what errors you might occur on some models or your clothing, and how to fix them, and just kind of everything that the tool has to offer. I'll be leaving down in the description a timestamp of everything that I'll be diving deep into, so if you're looking for something specific, feel free to go ahead and look through those timestamps, because I'm assuming this video might be a little bit long. So feel free to do that. Additionally, I'll be trying to do the least amount of cuts as possible because I don't want it to be confusing, or you might not be able to follow along if I go too quickly with cuts. So I'm not going to be doing many cuts in this, and I'm going to be trying to explain as best as possible. We're going to be using the paid version of the tool today, so if you guys don't have it, I highly recommend that you go ahead and get the paid version. Let me go ahead and bring it on my monitor here. It's only $10, and I'll show you guys how to get your license and everything like that. So whenever you're here on this platform, and as always, I'll leave all the links that I use here down in the description. So if you're here and you want to buy this 10 euros monthly fee, you want to go ahead and buy now. It's going to direct you to Patreon, and then you just kind of put in your payment info, make an account if you don't have a Patreon, and so on and so forth. And then once you're done with all of that and you're done and you finally bought the subscription on Patreon, I'm so sorry, I just flashbanged you guys. On Patreon, you'll go ahead and click on settings. It'll bring you to the basics tab, but what you want to go ahead and do is click on more and go to connected apps, which is this page. And then you're going to go ahead and this will say connect for you guys. You just connect, sign in with your Discord, and everything should be connected. Once that is done, you want to go ahead and visit Plebmaster Forge, the official website for all of the tool stuff that Durty creates. And what you want to go ahead and do is go and sign into your Discord. So it's going to go ahead and do this. It's going to go ahead and try to log in. I'm already logged in, so it just kind of does it automatically. So once that's done, you want to go ahead and head over to licenses. Licenses will open up like this. For example, I will open up the Durty Cloth Tool real quick. Once the tool is open, you can see here at the top right that it says license with an X on it. That means that I don't have a license. We can click on it and it'll say here, I can't use it without a valid license. We say, okay, that's fine. We'll go to help and we'll go down to register license. Once we are at register license, we'll take our hardware ID. We go ahead and copy that. I'm going to close this for that. And then we'll paste it into here. And then once we're pasted in, we'll go ahead and save settings. Everything should be good to go. Once that's all done, our license here will be ready to be downloaded. So we'll click download license. And I can close this for now. Go ahead and drag this into here. And we'll double click again on the executable. And you'll see it goes ahead and it's going to just be ready to be used. As you can see at the top right, it says license with a check mark now. So you can know that your license is activated and it does work. I'm going to go ahead and move all of this out of the way now. That should be all done. We can kind of close this for now as well. And now we have our tool. From here, we'll create a new project. So go ahead and project and hit new. And then whatever, we'll go ahead and name it Advanced Tut just for the sake of it. This could be named whatever you want. And then for the project output folder, just for simple sake, I'm going to go ahead and just do it on my desktop. It's fine. That's going to be it. We'll hit save and close. And I already pre-selected some clothing that we want to use. So we'll go ahead and open this, and you can see that I have some stuff that I just want to go ahead and add to my project. There's different ways of doing this. You can go ahead and drag and drop. Oh, apparently I have no accessories. I have some helmets though. Just different things that I want to add to the project. You can either drag and drop. You can add from folders, male or female. You can do all of this stuff. And I'll kind of show you guys how this works. So for adding the feature, if you want to add from files, you can click add from files and then go to the whatever folder you want to do. And then you'll just select the files. So for example, we'll go ahead and click desktop. We'll go to advanced tutorial. I know I have something in armor. And here I just click this and then it'll go ahead and open up. It'll open up just like that. For the sake of it, I'll just remove it for now. And as you can see, the project folder has generated on my desktop because I started adding things to it. Another thing that you can do is add from folders. So this can be used in the same way. go ahead and click on Armors. You can select Folder, and it'll go ahead and add the items again. Super simple. And then if you're doing specific male or specifically female, you can do that as well. Me personally, I like to do male and female separately because sometimes just it doesn't get sorted right. But the app will try its best to go ahead and sort it in female or male, depending on what it thinks it might be. Personally, for this, we'll go ahead and just try to do add from folders. So I'm just going to add the entire folder. So this should go ahead and look at all the subset folders and just add everything. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll see that it takes just a little bit to go ahead and import here. And there you go, it's imported. And so now you might be wondering like, oh, what are all these symbols on the left-hand side? So let's talk about those. If you ever are wondering on the Durty Cloth Tool if there's anything that doesn't make any sense to you or something that you want a little bit more information on and things just aren't making sense, everything is basically hover based on this application. So for example, if I want to know more information about these errors, I hover over them and it says Drawable doesn't have any textures. So that's what the error is right now. It doesn't have any textures. Same goes for this one. Just if we hover again, it'll say Drawable doesn't have any textures. Obviously this one had a different error as well, but that's besides the point. If you want to figure out anything that's again like this, okay, there might be more information with this Drawable. If we click inside of it, there's 2 here and you can hover over those as well. And you can see that there's some errors and how to do that. We'll get to those in a moment. Let's focus on these ones that currently don't have any textures. So of course, these do have textures. Apparently the tool just got a little bit confused and did not import them. So we'll go ahead and import them now. I'll go ahead and add. We'll go to hat. I believe this, I'm not entirely sure which one is which. So I'll go ahead and add these. So it's been added. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other one. So hit add helmet, and then I'll go ahead and open these. And there you go. We have them added. So now everything should work. To make sure that everything works, we can go ahead and hit the 3D preview cloth. We'll go ahead and hit that. It'll find my GTA 5 install right away. It's super simple. We'll hit OK. And now this will pop up. It'll take a second to load up, but once it loads up, we'll be able to view our things in real time. You see here the prop loads in, we can view it, and yes indeed it is the right textures for the right model. And another thing is we can go ahead and grab this and we can just cycle through these and see what all the different textures are. Very, very neat tool, very, very handy. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. So we're going to back up here a little bit and I'll show you guys around the app itself. So let me close this and let me show you guys around the app itself. So we'll go to project first. We'll kind of go like around the entire thing. So project, obviously you can make a new project. You can open a project. So for example, if I wanted to open this, for example, we'll just save this project and then we'll just save it for the sake of it. I'm just going to save it back into our project folder as well. And we'll just call it advanced tut. And we'll go ahead and hit save. And what this does, it basically makes a JSON file. Here you can see it makes a JSON file. So if I were to make a new, and we're just going to close that for now, and go to open, what I want to open up to reopen my project is this JSON file. We hit it, open, and there we go. It is open. I'll close this for now. Again, this is our project folder that we've created earlier. It's always going to be named clothproj_advanced tut. And what is usually stored inside of here is going to be your data. So all of the data stuff is going to be these right here. It's going to be these but copied over. So for example, if I were to delete this off my desktop, well, I don't need to be worried because it's all saved within my project. So that's what that means. So you'd never want to delete this data folder. It also has a status log txt in it, but you don't need to worry about that. So we'll close that, and that's what you want to open up when you create your when you save your project. Real quick, this is an editor's note because I forgot to mention it when I was doing the tutorial before. But in the project, if you look at the optimized project data, what this option does, it will run an optimization process that optimizes the project data folder. So the data folder I just showed you guys, basically if you click this, it will delete any unused files. So any duplicates or any files that you've already optimized that they no longer needs or things like that, it will go ahead and remove that. So if we run it right now, you'll see that it's going to tell you the same thing. You hit OK, and it's found 152 data files that are not being used in this project. So you can go ahead and delete those, and you'll see it runs through them, and that means that you've cleared up some space within your data folder here. So it's basically deleted 152 different things that were unused in this folder, which makes your folder a lot slimmer. So here's an editor's note. Going from there to the right, we'll click on Options. You see the general options here. We can reopen last project on startup, so we can click that. And if we hover over it again, it'll tell you, if enabled, your last project will automatically open on startup. So what that means is if I close this right now and I open the app again, it will reopen with this project open. Very, very helpful for whenever you're making clothing packs. Additionally, we have filled unused items spots. So for example, if I had, let's say, 4 pairs of shoes for women, and instead of being labeled 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, they would be labeled 0, 1, 7, 8, let's say, for example. If I were to import another pair of shoes, instead of going to 9, it would go straight up and go to 0, 1, 2, and then we'd have 8, 7, or 7, 8, sorry. And that's basically what the filled unused position is. Again, if you hover, it tells you exactly. We have resort item positions. So for example, if we're going to use this, for example, if I'd had this, something like this, and I want to resort it, we just hit resort, hit yes, and there you go. It would resort it back to 0 to be linear, so it wouldn't skip numbers anymore. Very helpful for just people that have OCD or just like to have things set like that. Pretty good. We have reset saved window settings. So again, reset saved, everything just kind of gets reset in your saved file. And then we have reselected GTA 5 game folder. If you go ahead and you move your game folder for whatever reason, and you kind of your 3D preview no longer works because you moved your GTA 5 game folder, you can click on this, and then you can go ahead and select your GTA 5 folder again. Moving on to the right again, we have help here, and you can look at your license info. You can click that. You can see your license stuff if you'd like. You can support them on Patreon if you want to give them a higher tier, because we're already using the paid version. You could also have these 2 articles that are very good if you want to learn more about clothing. So I'm gonna hit. You can read this pop up, but you can hit OK as well, and then it'll bring up this page right here. And then you also have the second one, that is the model texturing and naming. Again, you can read this, but we can just open up the article and read that. Additionally, there's other stuff here. You can read them over. Super self-explanatory. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on to the bottom left here. We've kind of already gone over our add button here, but we can go over it again. So you can add from files, from folders, male, female from folders. I'm not gonna be using the add tattoo or add facial because I don't use these. I've never used these. I don't know how to use them. So unfortunately, maybe I'll make a tutorial later when it's just focused on these 2 things, when I know a little bit more about them. Personally, I don't know anything, so unfortunately, I'm going to be skipping them. But then you have the add male, and this is personally what I use whenever I'm making a clothing pack. I like to separate them between males and females, and then I'll just add from folders whenever I am creating them. The reason for that is because, yes, the tool tries its best to know if it's something that's supposed to be for men or for women, though the only thing is that sometimes modders, or the way they make their clothing, the custom clothing, they're not named properly, or something might be wrong. So the clothing the tool doesn't know where to place them. That's why I just separate them manually and then add them like this. Same thing goes for women. You can do the same thing for women. And then obviously very simple stuff. You can remove selected stuff. So if you select a bunch of different things, go ahead and click remove selected. And then you can just click like that and remove selected as well. The way I'm doing that, by the way, is if you hold Control and click different ones, that just selects multiple. And then if you're wanting to select the entire list, you can hold Shift and select the entire list, and there you go. That's how that works. This is how the left side works. Now we'll be moving on to what the right side of the application does. You've kind of seen me a little bit touch on this position stuff earlier. So we'll go ahead and just explain a little bit more. Position is just when it's going to show up inside the inside your clothing pack. So if you had something that was 0, 3, 6, 9, well, it would go in that order. It would show 0 first, 3 second, so on and so forth. To make it super simple, though, you would usually put this in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Usually that's what you would want to do with it, and you can kind of just change the positioning manually if you are trying to do it differently. You can also change the clothing type it falls under. I mean, this is an armor piece, and I can show you guys here. It is an armor piece, but if you didn't want to be an armor piece and for some odd reason you wanted it to be something else, if you want it to be under something else, for example, shoes, I mean, you can change it to be under shoes, but it would still affect, like, it would still go on the individual's body. So you can change this to whoever you'd like. You could also change it to a prop, but props and components act very differently, so you won't be able to actually switch them. If it is made to be a prop, you will have to select prop. If it is made to be a component, you will have to set component. Props and components act very differently. With that being said, we also have the name of it. We can change the name if we would like to. You can also have a first-person model, and then also a mesh physic. These are two options that are very rare in clothing, but they are doable. If you want to go ahead and add special models for first person, you can. And then you also have YLDs, which I've personally never seen, but I have seen other people use them. You just go ahead and hit select on these two, and you can go ahead and just add them. The physics one is actually pretty cool, but again, I don't have any that are currently being, like, I don't have any clothing that use a YLD. Something that I think is really cool as well is this audio preset right here. For armor, it only has one audio preset, but for example, if we look at legs, it'll have a bunch of different ones. Some of these are pretty self-explanatory. So if it's a piece of clothing that seems like it's cotton, you would go ahead and select cotton, and so on and so forth. I mean, and then you can test them in game when you're running around. Does it sound like it's supposed to sound? This is more so used on shoes, more specifically. Personally, I use it more on shoes. Oops, I didn't click inside of shoes. More so on shoes. The reason why is because when you're running, you're going to be hearing more so of your shoes, because they're like tip-tapping on the floor than anything else. So you definitely want to be setting these appropriately, but that is how that stuff is used. And then on the fully right side, you have your options here. We have some unknown flags, and that's just because they're literally unknown to the GTA modding community. We don't know what these flags do. We've just seen them on clothing. This is kind of like what, I mean, Rockstar hasn't told us what they do, so, and people haven't encrypted it or tested it enough, so we don't know what these flags do. We have them on a lot of different, I guess mostly all the clothing options, but we also have very specific ones for other clothing. So for example, I'm going to be going through options for different clothing now. For example, legs can have skin tone data. So if we were to look at this, by the way, I just double clicked I went to open this up. You can just double click. I forgot to mention that, but you can double click. And for these, it seems like they kind of modeled socks onto you. Though it could have skin tone data, possible as well. So if you think it has skin tone data, you just go ahead and click this skin tone data, and then the tool would apply that for in-game reading. For masks, you have something that's really cool. You have show hairs, cut hairs, or remove hairs. This is for, let me find an example for you guys here. So here is the example. If you are looking to show hair, like this is going to be the different options. So normal hair will be show hairs, and then cut hair. You can see here that basically the mask pushes the hair back, so it's not phasing through the front of the mask. And then if you have remove hairs, it would completely take off your hairs completely, which is kind of a cool little neat feature. If you're using a mask that kind of just doesn't use this, it doesn't really matter. You wouldn't never use it, but that's something that is cool that you can also toggle. Additionally, we have the same stuff kind of for props. So for example, if we were to use this stuff for like hats, for example, this hat, I wouldn't want it to have hair on the top of your head. So what I would do is I would cut hairs, and then this would translate to in-game being it so your hair wouldn't poke through the hat. This is an option on hats though, so again, prop on head. And then you can do remove hairs or custom cut hairs. And the reason you can do this is, for example, if we do cut hairs, you can see that it cuts 0.5 of the hair. Let's say you had a hat that wasn't that deep and you wanted to go a little bit higher or a little bit lower, you'd go ahead and hit custom cut hairs, and then you go ahead and just change this depending, but you'd have to do some personal testing and seeing how that works. Additionally, you also have remove in vehicle. Is our motorcycle helmet and is bulletproof, or is airplane hat? This again, you can see all of this if you hover. You can see more in-depth descriptions about these. But remove in vehicle, let me find another option to show you guys here. So here at the top we have if you don't have the option enabled, and here at the bottom you have it if you have it enabled. So you see remove in vehicle. If we go ahead and enter the vehicle here, you see it automatically removes it. So that is a pretty cool feature if you're using that. I'm going to skip over this one and we'll go to shoes here. Shoes has a very cool one as well. You can have Haskin tone data as well for shoes. This is possible to have as well for shoes. But the most important one is high heel. Now I'm going to show you guys what the female high heel looks like here. So this is going to be like a high heel that is kind of default. It's going to be like the default stuff. So what we can do here is we can click is high heel. It'll engage the 1.0, and that's kind of like what we're looking at here is like the 1.0. But you might also have a shoe that is like this, that is not necessarily that high, but it is still a high heel. What you can do is click is high heel, and then you can go ahead and I know for a fact that this high heel is best used at 0.1. You hit enter, and then in game, when you import it in game, instead of having that full hover option, like your shoes fully hovering, because this is a custom height and we've entered 0.1, you can go ahead and test it yourself with all different types of models to see what fits best for those models that you're kind of working with. But that's what that is for. It's super cool, and it gives you a lot of variety in what you can do with the shoe. With that being said as well, these go up into increments of like 0.1. So you can do 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. I think in future updates, you'll be able to do like 0.15. But right now you can just go ahead. If you do that, it'll hit, it'll go to 2. Again, you can also go up to 3, I believe, with this as well. So if you have high heels that are super high, let me try. Yeah, it just goes up to 3. So if you have high heels that are super high, you'll use 3. But those are some real fucking high heels if you're using 3. So again, we'll just put this to 0.1. Sorry. Oh my god, 0.1. Because I know those are 0.1. We'll hit enter. And that is kind of all of the options that you'll see that are really cool and different things regarding this app and all of its kind of like nifty little things here. Here's another editor's note because I forgot to mention it because I didn't have any in my project. But this is one other feature that there is having cut hairs for hoodies as well. I know that we talked about cutting hairs, or we just talked about how the hair cutting works. But basically this also works for hoodies. So whenever you're putting on a hoodie, you can go ahead and click this right here on the JBib. This also works for undershirts. You can click hoodie hairs, and then basically if it's half covering your head or something like that, it'll be able to compress the hair, or even go ahead and just cut the back of your hair to make it seamless, make it not poke through the hoodie. I just forgot to mention this because I didn't have any J-bibs. So here's another option that there is for you. I almost forgot to mention the add. I forgot to mention these options down here. So the add button. We'll go ahead and we can add more textures to this I guess this shoe. If we want to add more textures, we could do that by just using the add function, and then just find the YTD or whatever, or YTD or whatever it may be. We could add another dummy placeable if we wanted to. We'd also remove, kind of the same thing that we had on the left hand side, but the positioning for these are used with these arrow keys. So for example, if I wanted these orange ones to be first and then the black and white ones to be second, what I would do is put it up, and then I would put this one down, and then you can see that it changes the A to the B and the B to the A, and then you go, and now the orange ones will pop up first in your clothing, and then also the white ones will show up second. For whatever reason, if I wanted to have this one show up first, again, simple as that, we would just go all the way up. It would go all the way up to A, and then I want this one. You can't have two of the same, so you'd have to find another place for this one. This one would probably go back down to G that we had it at, and there we go. That's how you kind of sort things out with that. Additionally, we've been using it throughout this entire video. You have the 3D preview cloth, so you can go ahead and just click this whenever you want to 3D preview something. But something that I think is pretty cool that you can do as well, let me just resize this real quick, is you can go ahead and click on a texture, and you can hover, and like you just go downwards with them, and then it will just update automatically. That's kind of a cool little nifty little thing. I don't know if it's intended, but I've used this multiple times. If I'm like, for example, using something like this, and I just don't want to double click on all of them because it takes a while, or just click on all of them because it takes a while. You can just click on one and then just go ahead and just slowly go through them and see, okay, oh wait, let me look back. Oh, okay, that green one looks okay, never mind. And you know, just super simple. Instead of clicking on every single one slowly but surely, you just click and just drag. I don't know if it's intended, but it's kind of something that I use and I enjoy using. We will visit the build project at the end of the video when we actually build our project and show us in game. But we also have this setting here. So this is what we added earlier as well. As you can see, advanced tut and advanced tut. I didn't mean to do that. It's fine. This, I think we did capitals, but I don't think it actually supports capitals. So it kind of just lowercase everything. But if you ever want to change anything here, you can go ahead and do that. But there was that warning pop-up that showed up earlier. So there's that. We'll close this for now, and we'll go over some other basic stuff. If you right-click on any of these, you will have options that show up. You have remove, replace. Remove is just simple remove. Replace, you can replace the model. So if you don't necessarily want this model, let's say you had 10 armors, but you want to replace number 7, you can go ahead and click replace and just do that. It's going to be super simple. You can have show in Windows Explorer. So if you click this, it'll pop up in the Windows Explorer, like you're in your data folder where it is. If you wanted to grab it or edit or whatever it may be, there it is. You have export, so we can go ahead and export. We'll export it to our desktop just to show you guys. You can export that and give it a second. It'll export. So there we go. We have our YDD now exported with our names on them. We'll go ahead and just delete that for now. I don't need it. We can go ahead and export with textures. So I'm just gonna go ahead. For this, we'll go ahead and just call this export. We'll go ahead and export with textures. So if we do that and we go to our export folder, we hit save, you'll see it'll fill up, and it has all the YTDs inside of it. So all of these that we just exported as well, and they're all there. We also have export XML. So whenever let's say you like to do modeling of the actual clothing, you can export them as an XML, and then you can import those into CodeWalker, or you could also import those into Blender. Kind of super simple. I just click on them and then hit export, and then use Solemns on Blender to import these. This is kind of a little bit more advanced on how to actually create models and stuff like that, but you can export the XML here. We can also export textures as DDS, so we can go ahead and click that, and again we'll go ahead and click on our export. We'll hit open folder or save the folder, and then it'll export the models, the embedded textures to this model. So every model of clothing usually has a normal and a specular mapping on them. So that's what those are. You could also export them as PNGs. So if we do the same thing as PNGs, it'll export the two here as PNGs as well, and we can view those. This is what it looks like. That's what the normal looks like, and that's what the spec looks like. I'm not super knowledgeable on what these do or how to do them and everything like that, so please go to the Discord and ask there, because they might have more information than me, because I'm not super knowledgeable on those, but that's what that is. So you can export on DDS or PNG. Obviously DDS is usually what is used for doing clothing, but PNG, you can edit a PNG, then convert it to a DDS if you'd like so. You can copy the name, you can copy the game name, you could also copy the file path, you can optimize the textures. 3D preview is also here, and the optimized textures, we'll use that in a little bit when we're doing all the error checking. Same kind of goes with the textures. We can do the exact same thing with textures. So if we right click, we can do the exact same thing that we just talked about with the textures. But more importantly, for PNGs, if you just want to view what they look like, you can go ahead and hit that. You can hit export, and you can see what the textures look like. I mean, it's very useful for whenever you want to look at this stuff live. So, I mean, there's that. You can kind of just quickly look at that stuff. And more importantly, I believe you can go ahead and select all of them like that, and then hit export PNG. We'll go ahead and select the folder, and it'll export every single one that we have. It made a copy of the other one because we had already exported it. But then you can check, and you can see all of the different textures we have in here. So that's kind of cool, right? You can just export the lot of them, all of it. Same goes for the model though. You can go ahead and click on all of these, and then I can export all of these. We're just gonna go ahead and click export to. We're just gonna name it export to for now. And if I want to export all of these models with textures, we can go ahead and do that, and we can go to desktop and then export to. There we go. And that's our entire project just exported with kind of proper naming, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's super cool if you're trying to do certain things with it, or if you are very like knowledgeable with how to do Blender stuff and how to fix all of these errors that you might encounter, or you want to try to do something different with them. You could also export them as XML. You can go ahead and do that in our folder 2, and there you go. You have all of them exported, and then you can start like tweaking them a little bit more. So that's super cool if you are more knowledgeable on that front. Real quick, I almost forgot. The fun thing about being able to export all of these different file types is that you can also import all of these different file types. So I can go ahead and grab any of these DDSs, and I can go ahead and drag them back into the app. And then you can see that it has, the PNGs that we just used. And you can see that it is indeed the same one as what we had earlier as well. So that's kind of a cool little nifty thing that you can do. I'm just deleting it out of my project because I don't need it at this point. You can also do it with the with DDSs. I mean, we didn't export the these in DDS, so I'm not going to do it. But you can if you want to. You can go ahead and like just drag them back, and that will be done. And another thing is, let's say you went ahead and used these XMLs and you edited them and you saved them or whatever it may be. You can go ahead and click on replace, and you can go find your task. For example, this one is a task, so you can click this and go ahead and open, and then it'll replace it, which is kind of super cool, which you don't need to go ahead and bring them into CodeWalker and OpenIV. You can just go ahead and replace them, simple like that. Now, I think we've gone over everything that we were supposed to go over with the options and stuff. So we'll go ahead and figure out these errors. Let me just go ahead and just drag these up right now for now. And let's try to figure out these errors. So if we hover over this question mark, it says there are textures information for this drawable at 0, armor at position 0. So obviously our position is 0. This is what it's talking about, that have an error in it. So if we go ahead, well, this drawable doesn't have any issues, or sorry, this YDD doesn't have any issues with it, but right here, these have issues with them. And you can see here that the compression format is not the best for this. The issue that is usually with this is that if we go ahead and right click and we go to optimize, you can see that there's different options here. Now we'll go over all the different options and what they mean and how to fix them and things like that. But for example, the compression version for this is A8, R8, G888, whatever that means. I don't know what these compressions mean, but I know which one is best for which. So for this, just for this, we'll go ahead and untick this, and we'll see here, these are all the options we have. So you have BC1 with no alpha, very widely supported and good compression. We have BC3 that has encoding with alpha, good for smoothing alpha transitions. We have BC4, which is a single channel encoding. We have BC5, which is dual channel encoding. We have BC7, which is a norm encoding. Words are hard, but DirectX 11 plus computers only, very high quality, and it's kind of slow to optimize, but it's very good quality. And then you have the raw compressions that we necessarily don't want to use for this. Usually what you want to go ahead and use is either your BC1. This is me personally, what I use. you can use the different options if you know what you're doing, but me personally, what I usually do for mine is if it's mostly black, if it's a mostly black texture, I'll use BC7, because if you compress it with BC1, you might have that fragmenting where you've seen on some black clothing where it's like kind of like greenish purplish with BC1. So you can do BC1 if it's kind of like a colorful one, because it won't have that compression on it. But for BC7, we want to use, for black clothing, I'd rather use BC7. So we're going to go ahead and I believe this, I'm just going to cancel this real quick. I want to make sure. Okay, this is the green version. So we're just going to use BC1 for this. So I'm going to go ahead and unremove this. We'll just change it to BC1. We'll auto-generate min-maps, because why not? And then you can adjust the width and height for power of 2 if you'd like. And you can also downscale it if you would like, if it's too large of an image. So I'm going to go ahead and hit optimize on this one. It'll kind of do it quickly, and then we'll open back up, and you actually see that it does have a little bit of artifacting here. So BC7 probably would have been better for this. It kind of messed it up. BC7 would have kept its quality. So the best way of going about this is to, technically it's saved inside of your data folder before you even hit save. So technically it's still there, so we can go ahead and find it and then just go ahead and re-import it and fix it that way. But I think I'm kind of a smart guy and I kind of exported them earlier. So what we can go do is we're looking for F, and I had to pause my recording here. It's actually we have E copy 1, and that's just because that's just the one that was used previously. So I'm going to delete this one because it has this weird artifacting on it now, which I'm going to delete this one, and then I'm just going to move this one back up to F. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and hit optimize, and this time I'm not going to be using BC1. I'm going to be using BC7 because I don't want that weird artifacting to happen. So we're going to go ahead and compress this. It's going to take a little bit longer because it's higher quality, and we're going to go ahead and double click on it to view the new updated model, and you can see this time it does not have any of the purplish areas on the side. So that's kind of like something to look out for. I didn't want to include something like this in the video, but it happened mid-video and we already had exported everything. So kind of like a showing of like, make sure that you save your stuff and stuff like that. I want to say I'm 99% sure that it's saved in the data folder, but going through the data folder to find all that stuff when it's kind of just kind of all numbered and stuff, it's a little bit hard to find, obviously, especially if you start having a lot of files. So make sure you have maybe a backup of it somewhere, so you can kind of fix it before you optimize it, because it might, the optimization might not be the best. So again, for this, I'm just gonna, for the sake of it, I'm gonna go ahead and export as DDS on our desktop. I'm just gonna export it as DDS, and I just want to show you guys. It's gonna do it. There you go. And I just want to show you guys real quick. If we were to optimize this with BC1, I'll show you guys kind of, you've already seen it, but I just want to show you guys a little bit more of this kind of issues. Now, if you're from afar, you won't really notice it, right? You'll never notice that. But if you're as the player and you're kind of like this far from your character, which you might just be a little bit further sometimes. If you ever get close to it, you can kind of already see that it's not the best. So again, we're going to delete this one. Yeah, that's fine. And we're just going to drag this one back in. And what we'll do is optimize texture. We'll use BC7 again, because BC7 is the best for optimizing highest quality. But as I just really want to make this clear, as the option kind of describes here, we'll change. I just want to show you guys that DirectX 11 needs to be used for the textures to be properly seen. So if you're using this for like any type of server that you're running, there might be some issues with individuals not being able to see the proper colors or the proper textures if they're using DirectX 10 or lower. For example, DirectX 11 is the same thing as DirectX 10, I'm pretty sure, just with a little bit more options in it. So you should, in theory, everybody should be on DirectX 11. But there's that. And that is how to optimize this. So now you can see we don't have this error anymore. So we're going to move down and we're going to see what this one is. So there's also an error on this one. Let's see what the error on this one is. It's not of the power of 2. Okay, so this is a different error. Let's see how we can fix this one. So this one is this texture. I mean, it's just a white shirt. So I mean, it's not really a cool texture. It's just a white shirt, but it's not on the power of 2. What does that mean? Let me just go ahead and bring up what this means on the auto monitor. So we have our tables of values. So this is just the power of 2. This is literally what the power of 2 means. So you want your textures to be usually in the power of 2. I would never recommend going up to the 12th power. If you want the best quality for your stuff, you'd want to go with the power of 10. But honestly, most servers are going to go with the power. The power 11 is like if you really want high quality. The power of 10 is what most servers are going to use, and what you should use. And if it's even like just a straight up white color, you can even lower it to the power of 2 because it's just white. You don't need much quality in that. If it's just one specific color, it's 1024 by 1024. It's 1024 by 1080, which is kind of a weird thing to do. Usually, if some modders create a piece of clothing, they'll make it a rectangle instead of being a square, which you always want your textures to be a square. A rectangle can be passed, but like it's not gonna be the best. So what I'm gonna do here is, for the sake of it, because this is just a white texture and I know it's not gonna mess up anything, I'm gonna downscale it. And I'm going to go ahead and, actually, it's just going to adjust it for the power of 2 automatically for me, which is fantastic. So this option here is adjust width and height for power of 2. It's going to do it for me. And then we could just downscale textures because we are downscaling this one on the right here. So if we go ahead and hit optimize, it'll go ahead and do it. So there we go. If we click on optimize again, you can see that it auto downscaled it. And if we look at the texture now, again, it's just a white texture. It's not going to change much, but you can see that it looks perfectly fine, and it has done it by the power of 2. Now, for example, if it's an item, a piece of clothing that is very, very kind of random in its like pixel size, the app might not know how to adjust that to be proper. So what you want to go ahead and do is you want to hit downscale textures, and then what we like to do here is kind of pause my recording there for a second because I didn't understand why this was locked, but I just had to click auto downscale by half and then untick it, and now it's unlocked. But you can go ahead and change this manually. So if I want to go ahead and change this manually, and I wanted it, let's say it was 1144 for some odd reason. Let's say it was 1144 and I wanted to change it, you could go ahead and just change it to 1024 by yourself automatically. Now, if you want just to downscale just the quality of it, just because you want to just make it more optimized, or you want to save some space or stuff like that, you can go ahead and just auto downscale by half, which if we look at our nifty little scale here, it will definitely do it by half here. So there you go. And then you just go ahead and click that. If you want to go by more than half, if you want to go by 1/3, if you want to go all the way down to 256, you can just go ahead and, like, for example, we'll go ahead and do 256 by 256. This is just a white shirt, so it shouldn't change much. We'll go ahead and optimize. Now it's 2 kilobits instead of being 23, which we're saving so much space. Whoa! But there we go. It doesn't look any different. It just looks like a white shirt. So there you have it for this error. Now let's look at the error on our mask. So again, still it's something to do with these ones. Let's see what this is. It's not in the power of 2. It's the power of, it's currently at 1068. I'm assuming it's 1068 for all of these. Yeah, that's a problem. But now we have so many of them. Do I really want to right click optimize for all of these? No, I don't. So what you can do is you can highlight all of these, and you can go ahead and right click on them and optimize texture. And now, because it knows that it's currently fine in its BC3 form, it's auto going to generate the bitmaps. It's going to go ahead and adjust the power automatically, so the app is automatically choosing this, and then it'll downscale textures because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to downscale this 1068 to 1024. I'm going to go hit cancel on all of these real quick because I forgot to show you guys what we're looking at here. We're looking at this, right? So that's what the mask currently looks like. So go ahead and right click optimize. And it already, again, like I said, automatically selected what we need to do here. I'm just going to hit optimize, and it's going to go run through them, and it's done all of them. So now we can go ahead and view these again, and there we go. It looks pretty fine. It looked like this as well earlier. This looks fine as well. And as you can see, they all look great. So that's something cool that you can do, is that you can mass optimize them if they all are showing the same error. So let's move on. We also have this one, and let's see what this error is. Same compression format is not proper. So yeah, perfect. We'll go ahead and do this exact same thing again. This is our helmet that we were doing earlier. So we'll go ahead and hit optimize texture. And it's going to do it automatically for us. So it's going to select the good compression for us. I believe automatically it tries to select what is best. So for example, if you have something that's transparent on your texture, it's going to try to choose I believe it's choose it's going to try to do BC3 if it's doing like some transparent stuff. If not, I believe it's using BC7. I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's what it's going to do. So we're going to go hit optimize. And again, it's going to run through them. And there we go. We can check them again. And it's, yep, there we go. We used BC7 here. So there we go. That's what that is used for. Again, for this, what we're going to want to do is just cut hairs. So we're just going to cut the hairs because we don't want our hair to poke through this helmet. And then same thing for this. Let's see what this error is. It's not the power of 2. Perfect. Okay, cool. It's not the power of 2. Optimize. There we go. Adjust by power of 2. It's going to do it for us. Perfect. Does it look fine still? Yes, it does. There we go. Perfectly fine. Let's go to the next one. Oh, there is an error on the model itself now. Model is missing embedded specular texture for this model. So what that means, what you would want to do in this scenario, I'm not super knowledgeable on this stuff, but what you'd want to do is export by XML, bring it into Blender, get the specular map done for it, and then embed the textures back into the model, all that fun jazz. I might make a video on this at a later date to kind of dive deeper into how to fix these more complex issues. You can't fix this in the app, so I'm not going to be fixing this one, but maybe in the future I'll make another video to how to fix this specular texture issue more in depth. Seeing this one, we have another warning here. Again, another warning for all of them, and I'm going to assume all of them is because they're not the power of 2, so we're just going to go ahead and select all of these again. I'm going to right click, optimize. We're going to go ahead and, yeah, optimize. It's going to auto downscale it. It's like you can see here that it's automatically going to downscale it from 540 to 512. But you can see it did all of them, and we have 2 errors on 2 different ones now. We have compression error. So basically, it's not using the right compression. And I believe this one would also be a compression error. Yes. So what we can do is we can right click on, or we can hold Control, and we can click on both of them, and we can right click and hit optimize. It is going to optimize the best with the best that it thinks it is, and we can run through those. And there we go. I mean, now our shoes are nicely showing in game or in our 3D preview. So if I use the trick that I showed you guys earlier, if we hold a mouse, just mouse one, just left click, and we just slowly go through them, you can see these are all the shoes that we have. Please don't ask me for the model or where to download these. I have no idea. It's something that I used for an actual project for the server that I actually do this for. So I have no idea where to find them. But I'm sure if you find them on GT5 mods, if you look up the shoes, you'll find them. They're pretty simple. I think it's like Nike SBs or something like that. Now we have no error inside our textures, but we have an error here. We have this here is the model has 79,000 polygons, so almost 80,000. More than 60,000 is not recommended. Should optimize. Now this is another error that you'll see if somebody is really trying to put a lot of details into a piece of clothing or hair. It's just gonna be a large file for no reason. You can bring this into You can bring this into Blender and then fix it up with 3ds Max, whatever you like to use. But I don't necessarily know how to do this. I know there's a tutorial on how to reduce polygons. I think it's like the decimate option. I'll link it down in the description. That's another issue or warning that you might find or come across of. So we now just are left with 2 errors, which is the specular one, which I won't go over this video, and then the polygon one, which again I won't go over this video. But our clothing pack is ready to be packaged. But before we go ahead and do that and package that, what I want to show you guys real quick is let's see. We'll go through this. I just want to show you guys some of the options that you'll find on the 3D previewer. So if we make this wide and we open up the menu on the right side here, on the left side, we can enable the animation, which it'll start doing just the idle animation, just of him standing there. And then we can change it to be whatever. We can change this to be running. So if we're looking at a piece of armor, and then we have, like we ask him to run, we can check, oh, is it clipping anywhere? Oh, no, it's not clipping anywhere. It looks good. Like, you can just kind of do different animations to make sure that it's not causing any issues. And then we can just go ahead and just bring it back to the idle formation. We also have him T-pose if we want to, but you have a bunch of different stuff you can make him do. Enable root motion. I haven't a clue what this does. Apparently it seems to do some. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this one does. Ooh, I see what it does. It actually goes from point to point. Oh, I see. Okay, but this one just keeps him stagnant. Okay, cool. That's what that option does. We just learned together. Look at that. Look at us learning. Then you have HDR rendering. So these are more like super advanced stuff. So if you're looking at HDR rendering, if you care for that, you can do that. You can enable the shadows and disable the shadows if you want, if you're just looking for just any mistakes on it. Oh, by the way, I'm changing the time of day by right clicking. So you can right click and just kind of go through the times of day like that. And then you can have the shadows, make sure the shadows are casting properly as well. You have the render modes. You can have single vertex. You can have vertex normals. You can just double check anything. This is, again, more so if you know what you're doing with Blender and knowing what vertices and stuff like that you're trying to look for. So you can have all these different options. For the average user, just the default mode is usually going to work perfectly fine. And then you also have control light direction. So then you can also have I can make the light direction come from the front of him by just holding right click, and then I just move it slightly, and then I could just also toggle it off, which is it's now above him, kind of just like stuff like that. You can turn on the model wireframe. You can also turn on the grid, so that's the grid. And then if you have enable root motion, this is the floor, right? So and then you can see him kind of run across the floor, or yeah, run on the floor, I guess. I don't know how else to say that. You'd have the ped skeleton here, which you can kind of just see all the skeleton type options. Again, very like advanced stuff. And then of course I've been toggling this on and off for a bit here, but this is more so if you just want to look at the piece of clothing itself, not on a model. And then you can look at the different level of detail stuff. This is going to be like if you're really far away, if you're really close, and stuff like that. You also have the models data. So you can see all the stuff that's on the model itself. You can kind of play around with this if you'd like. You can toggle more of these on, more of these off, just you can kind of do all this within this. And then you also have the texture data. So then you can look at this more in depth as well, making sure that all your textures are named properly, that are embedded within the model. Again, this is super advanced stuff, but that's kind of like how you would use this for that. So I'm going to close this for now, and I'm going to close my folder in the back as well. And with that being said, I think we've gone over almost all of the settings and stuff like that. So all of the options that there are on the tool. I'll go ahead and move this to the middle here. And all that there is left to do is just build this and try it in our server. So we can go ahead and click the build project option. For me, we're going to be using FiveM. If you're using a Alt-V resource, or if you're doing it for single player, you could just select these. But whenever you click on FiveM resource, this server target game build is going to show up. You can click that. I'm going to use the $26.99 just because that's what we're still using in my server. You can replace GTA DLC close if you like. This is going to override the GTA close instead of adding on to the current list that you have. If that's something that you guys want to do, feel free to go ahead and do that. Me personally, I think adding on is much better. So we're going to go ahead and name this Advanced TUT. And then you can create subfolders for Drawables. So basically this means that it'll go, let's say all these different things will go into their own folders. So armor will go into its own folder, legs will go into its own folder. I just like to not take this option. You can disable extra YMT files. I necessarily wouldn't do this, so because we are using the cut hairs and the different options here, and that's what this does here. So I would not disable that if that's what you're doing. And then we also have a create a close info dump, which if enabled, this will create a file containing all close scripting related / needed information in a generic format. Me personally, I don't use this. I would never really need to use this, but you can use it if you'd like. The default folder will be your project folder. If you want to change that for whatever reason, let's say you're using a GitHub repository and you want to go ahead and put that into, you want to go ahead and like put it in a different folder so you can just push it to your repo. You can go ahead and do that. But for this, I'm just going to put it in our project folder as well. We'll hit build. And it's going to be ready to go. In not even a second, it was built. If you have a larger pack, of course, it's going to take a little bit longer, but there's that. A small tidbit of an error that I sometimes see people do is if you just saw there, if I click on the main window again without closing the window in the back, I can't really click on any of my textures. I can't really click on most of the stuff here, and that's because this window is in the back here. So if you ever run into this issue, just go ahead and move your stuff, find this window again, hit OK, and everything should be back to normal. You should be able to move stuff again. I forgot to mention as well earlier is these numbers here that are between your armor stuff here, the R000 and the A056. Those numbers correspond to your build project, your game build. So for example, if I switch this to this one, you'll see that all these numbers update. If I switch it to this one, all these numbers update again. So to kind of show you what those mean is that the relative number here, the R means relative to your clothing pack. So relatively, it should be 000. So it should be the first item that you see after your default clothing options. So for example, as well, the A here means actual. So when we're going to be loading this in game, our actual number that we're going to be looking for is 56, and the actual number for our legs is 143, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of to know a little bit more about how this works. So again, for the shoes as well, our relative in the project is 000, and this one is 001. But this could also be, for example, if I add this, if I make this 10 and I hit enter, this is still relative 001. The reason being is because you only have 0 and 1. This position number is just kind of for reference on what positions are, but your relative is still going to be 001. And then your actuals are going to be 98 and 99. That's kind of what that stands for. I just want to kind of revisit that and just let you guys know, because that's the only thing I didn't go through earlier. It's kind of like it kind of just goes to the end of the video usually because we're going to be building at the end of the video, but that's what that is for. So hopefully that makes sense. Now back to the usual video. So if we go into our project folder that we created earlier, you can see that we made a folder called Advanced TUT, well, ADV TUT. And within inside this folder, we have our stream folder, we have our FX manifest, everything has been generated. And then again, we have our female and male stuff. As you can see, the project name is tied to the back of it as well. But here you go. We have all of our files here. And we're going to go ahead and put this onto our server. So let me go ahead and open up my folders real quick for that. So we're going to go ahead and go to my custom files, my resources, my clothing pack. That's other stuff that I have enabled here. We're gonna go ahead and open this up. What we want to do is, for me personally, I'll just copy this and I'm gonna go paste it. So Control C, Control V. It's gonna copy it over, and then I'm gonna close this, and then I'll go back to our custom files folder, and we need to configure this to actually call on that folder now. Let me go ahead and open this on my other monitor because I don't want to leak my keys or anything like that. So give me 1 second. All right, let me go ahead and here you guys go. I deleted some portion of my file here just so I don't leak anything. But as you can see, I am using build 2699. And as we built our project earlier, project build 2699 is what we were using. If you don't know what build you're using, ask your main developer or whatever. I mean, if you should know what build you're using if you don't have another main developer. And then what we want to go ahead and do is, if you're using a test server, you want to have your SV_max client set to 10 or below. I just like 9 just to make sure. If you're doing this on a server where you're going to have more than 10 people playing, you're going to want to subscribe to FiveM's Patreon to allow clothing to be streamed onto your server. I'm sure there's a bunch of tutorials out there for that, but I'll go ahead and put a tutorial or their link down in the description as well. But you can go ahead and do that. These are a bunch of other mods that I have, but what we're going to be doing here is I'm just going to remove this one. That is usually my clothing pack, and we're going to put in a ADV, and then we're going to go ahead and type tut. So that's our folder name. If we go back to our folder here, that's not what it was, this folder. Resources clothing, ADV tut that we copied over, which again has our streaming stuff inside of it. We're going to put that in there. We're going to hit save. Let me go ahead and just add back the stuff that I removed. I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to close this on my other monitor. I closed it. There you go. And then we can go ahead and boot up our server. So let me go ahead and do that and show you guys what it's like. I have booted up in my server. So for now, we can go ahead and see this is me. I'm going to open up my play related options. We'll go to MP customization and save characters. This will edit our character. We'll go to close. And let's see what we added. Again, I completely forgot. We added armor, legs, mask. So let's see armor first. Let's see body armor. We'll go back one. So there we go. We have our body armor, which, I mean, looks like armor, I guess. I don't know what else we were looking for. I mean, we'd also see our different textures as well. If we hit enter, we see our different textures. Looks good. Cool. Fantastic. Then we had our legs as well, which are our lower body. So we'll go all the way back. We'll go back one. And these are the pants that we added. I know that because I looked at them before. Let's see what else. We added a mask. So I believe we have mask. We'll go back one. This is our mask that we added. Enter, enter, enter. We can see that they're all different. And then let's see what else. Let's see. We had shoes for males, and then we had hats as well. We'll show the shoes for males real quick. These are our shoes for males, and yes, we have all the different colors that we were talking about earlier as well, which they look great. And then we also had hats, but these will fall under props. So we'll go to hats, and we'll go back a few. Give me just a little bit to go back. And then we have this hat here. And then we also have this hat here. So there we go. Everything seems to be working good. The only thing is that I completely forgot to remove the hat poking through here. So as you can see, I forgot on this one to cut hairs. If you wanted to cut hairs, just click on cut hairs and build project again. All that fun stuff. I mean, that's just showing you guys that it actually works because it works for this one. The hair is definitely cut, and then this one does not work. For the sake of the video, I'll just show you guys. Just give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds for you guys, but I'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Just to show you guys again, what the only change I made was I ticked on the cut hairs. I built the project over again, like we just did earlier. I just completely forgot to do the cut hairs part for that one. So we're gonna go to props. And I'll show you guys real quick. I gotta go all the way back. And here you go. Now the hair is probably being cut. I mean, honestly, you could even do, if you wanted, you could even do, I guess, like, go completely bald. And, like, instead of cut, you can just go remove hair if you want with this one. And this one, of course, is also working. So there you go. Just want to show you guys that the option does work properly. I think that's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Please like and subscribe, maybe. And then also, if you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord. There is a support channel there for the clothing tool. And then we can try to kind of help you guys out a little bit more for the more in-depth questions. There's also a channel for modding help if you're doing custom modding stuff. So feel free to join that Discord and have your questions ready and answered. There's quite a few smart people in there that I have personally learned from as well. And watch out for maybe another video regarding clothing and how to edit those specular maps and polygon fixes and all that stuff. That's more Blender focused. But again, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.